Welcome back to the gun bench. In front of us, we've got a Remington. So in particular, this is a Remington Whitmore model 1879. So Whitmore Remingtons can be identified by the way the barrels are opened. So every single Whitmore will have a lifter mechanism. So the lifter is this guy right here. So the lifter will lift up and it will release the barrels. So Remington made the Whitmore models from 1873 through about the early 1880s. So this is the last of the Whitmore models that Remington made. So there were no actual model numbers at the time when Remington made these. They were added afterwards. So for instance, if you go on Guns International or you're looking at the Remington Society, you'll see like a model 1873 Whitmore. Well, Remington never called them those things. Those were things that were added later for us to be able to tell them apart. So in most of their literature, these were simply called Whitmore Hammer Lifter or Lifter, Remington Whitmore Lifter, but all of the model numbers were added later, and they were all year numbers. So the very first Whitmore was made in 1873. So it is called the model 1873. As the iterations and different options are added, fences change, hammers change, etc., there would be a new model number made. So if you go and take a look in Semmer's book, if you check out the Remington Society pictures online, there are a few models of Whitmores that are agreed upon. So there's the model 1873, that's the first one, the 1875, the 1876, the 1878, and then this would be the final one, the model 1879. So the 1879 is an interesting Whitmore because they're the scarcest of the Whitmores and one of the scarcest Remington shotguns. So when this book was written, there were only 17 known in existence. That number's grown now, but there's still thought to have been less than 100 of these made in the history of their production. So the Whitmores, this is a very simple Whitmore. It's decarbonized barrels, no engraving on it. It's like grade 1, very standard entry-level gun. The Whitmores, though, could be as ornate as any American gun of the time. So there could be very beautiful engraving on them, all different types of Damascus barrels, any type of wood that you wanted, you could get whatever you wanted. However, this is a very simple, just run-of-the-mill, entry-level Remington Whitmore. Now, how do I know this is an 1879? So if you were looking and you were trying to find like a scarce Remington gun like an 1879, there's a couple telltale factors. So if we take a look at this gun here, it has a doll's head extension. So there's an extension here on the rib. No Whitmores, for the most part, have these. I believe 1878s have them and 1879s. So if you have some type of extension on the rib, you know that you're looking at a very late Whitmore. In addition to that, only, unless something's been changed on the gun, it's not original, only the 1879s have the Delian edge forend. So what I mean by the Delian edge, if you see the latch mechanism here on the forend, this is a telltale sign that it's an 1879. So if it has this mechanism, it's an 1879, unless something has been changed or altered over time. All the rest of the Whitmore models have wedges. So there'll be a pin that'll run through here and hold this in. You have to knock the pin out, the wedge out, in order to take your forearm off. So the majority of the Whitmores have that mechanism for taking the forend off. For our purposes, for 1879s, they all have the Delian edge. There's a couple, I think there's actually only one known that has a wedge, but all of the rest have this Delian edge forend. So again, there are only 17 known when Semmer made his book. There's now more known, but it's still a very small number. In addition to that, 1878s and 1879s don't have fences. There's no percussion fences on them. It's kind of strange, though, because Remington's first top lever gun is the 1882. And if you take a look at 1882s, which were made after this Whitmore, they still have percussion fences. So it's odd. They lose the percussion fences at the end of the Whitmore, but going back into their newer guns in the early 1880s, they have fences back again. Why? Not sure. They do look more artistic. They look a little sleeker, but it's a little odd. 1879s don't have them, but the next model up, the 1882, does. So this gun in particular is 30-inch barrels. I've actually hunted with it quite a bit. So I use RST, or I actually load up black powder shells and these 12 gauge brass hulls to hunt with. It's funny. So this is a 12 gauge brass hull. Just to show you the difference with the 10 gauges. Check this out. So there's a 10 gauge brass hull and a 12 gauge. So they're quite substantially different. So I've taken this gun out quite a few times. It's unfortunate. I've taken it out duck hunting most of the time, and I have not come home with a duck with it. So I've come home with raccoons and squirrels only with this guy. So 3 of the duck hunts I went on, I just got skunked the one time. Then I ended up killing 2 raccoons with it. I didn't see any ducks, so I killed 2 raccoons with it. And then I ended up going again. I hunted Thanksgiving morning with it for ducks, didn't see anything, shot a squirrel on my way out. And then I hunted again with it with my dog, and didn't see any ducks again. Ended up walking back, and we ended up getting a few squirrels on the way. So I haven't been able to get what I've been chasing with it. However, the gun does still work. It still brings meat to the table, and it still functions quite well. It does have some pitting in the barrels. It's not too substantial. I could get it honed. I'm of the mind where if the pitting isn't too bad, I'd rather not remove metal. I'd rather keep as much metal in the barrel as possible. But yeah, this gun, it's a little interesting in that the original owners of this gun, so I believe it's the great-great-grandfather who bought this gun, passed it down through his whole family. Then not too long ago, it was sold to a gentleman who then passed it on to me. So this gun was in the same family for many, many years. And it brought me to their table. They got to shoot with it quite a bit. And then I don't know if the guy before me shot this or not, but I still take this out. I still hunt with it. I'll probably hunt with it this year a little bit. It's not a 10 gauge, so it won't get as much time in the field as some of my others. But my goal is to take this out and get a duck with it. So again, this is a model 1879. It's a Whitmore. If you ever see any type of Remington with a lifter, it is some type of Whitmore. Some type of Whitmore. And the designer, Whitmore, actually made some other shotguns on his own. They're phenomenal shotguns. He has some hammerless shotguns even. So those are some interesting things that you can look up. But in this case, this is the last of the Remington Whitmores. Again, there's the 1873, 75, 76, 78, and 79. If you were looking for a very scarce American gun, the 1879 is one of those. You can tell, again, from the extension. You can tell from the dealy and edge forend. And you can also tell from the lack of fences there. So, again, Remington, model 1879 Whitmore. Maybe I'll get a hunting video up with it. I might even, actually, I'll probably add it in earlier. So you might have already seen a little bit of a hunting video with one of these. I didn't actually fire anything on camera, but I did take some video of my dog bringing the squirrel back. In any case, Remington, Whitmore, pretty cool gun. If you see them, they're awesome. There were a lot of these made in general, Whitmore-wise. 1879, that was pretty rare. If you see one, it's in decent shape, decent price, pick it up. Again, please keep these things alive. Keep the history going. Don't let them fade into obscurity.